Hey everybody! Today's video is going to be about lobsters. The lobsters that we're talking about are not the main style lobsters, the big ones with the big claws. We have what's called the spiny lobsters. Now, they can be found, I know, in Southern California from when I lived back there, down through Mexico, Central America, all up through the Caribbean, I know even to the Bahamas, definitely throughout the Keys, as well as up the mainland Florida. I'm just not sure how high they go up, if they go up into the other states, but fairly prevalent. The way it works is that there is what they call a mini season. And what they do is they open it up to recreational anglers who have a saltwater fishing license, and they purchase a lobster tag. And what it is, it entitles a person to get 6 lobsters per day per that 2-day mini season. Mini season this year is basically starts at 12:01 a.m. on the 26th of July and runs through 11:59 p.m. on the 27th of July. So just those 48 hours basically. And you're allotted 6 lobsters per day. So in total, you can get 12 lobsters, 6 per each day, 12 lobsters total for that 2-day mini season. And then the first week of August begins the commercial or full opening, where the commercial people can go lobster, as well as it opens up for the recreational ones. So tomorrow is basically the first day of the mini season, so time to get ready. I've made videos like this before on the prior 2 mini seasons, but I figured, hey, it's a good refresher. Plus, I'll go through my bucket of lobster stuff, and it'll just help me to just make sure I've got everything that I need. I kind of just leave it all in this bucket, so it's always there. I don't really do too much lobstering the rest of the year, so just bring it out for this mini season and the first couple of weeks of the opening season. So let's go through my bucket. Like anything, especially down here in the Keys, you can go out and catch whatever you're targeting for $20, or you can spend $1 million. All right, I lean towards the $20 side in that it's just 6 lobsters. Once the commercial opens, you can basically go buy them for $5 a piece from the commercial trappers. So it's not like a huge type of deal to me personally, but some people go full bore on it. So like I say, it could be $1 million sport if you wanted to make it. One of the things to remember is that you don't even need a boat for doing the lobstering. You just have to get up very early, hit any of the bridges all up and down the Keys, just be one of the first ones out there, and just dive the pilings, and you'll find the lobsters, as well as the edges of any deep cuts and current. You could find them as well, so not even a kayak is needed. But the more areas that you're able to get to, the better your chances. But the key is get there early, because after the 2-day mini season, they become very hard to find. So let's go through my bucket of lobster stuff, and in no special order. First off, get this out of the way, is I've got my dive flag, and that's a legal requirement there if you're in the water swimming. I've got mine attached to basically an old fishing pole that snapped. This is actually one of those Shimano TDRs, my Tarpon rod that I use. But anyways, that's kind of a prerequisite there. Then I've got these, which are my Tickle Sticks, they call them. This is a standard straight, just a little fiberglass pole there. This is just in a little aluminum one. I bent the edge so that you can kind of tickle them out, is why they're called a tickle stick. Longer is better, so it really helps out, especially when they're in some deep crevices. I always recommend taking a couple, having some spares, because they get dropped, they fall out, especially if you're in your kayak. They'll slip over the side and you won't even know it. I'll also use these as markers, so if I dive down, I see a hole or see a lobster, a lot of times I'll leave the tickle stick down where the hole is while I go up for air, or go to get the kayak to make it a little bit more accessible, and then dive back down again, and then I'll know where that hole is at. but sometimes you can't find it again and then you lose your stick. No stick, you ain't getting any lobsters. Then let's see, get some of the stuff out. All wedged in here. Then we've got my net, which is the good old lobster net, tangled up. And I attached to it, not this. Come on, baby. All right. So I've got my little hand net, which is the most common way of catching them, whereas you basically use your tickle stick to draw them out of their crevices and then scoop them up with your little hand net. Major requirement is having a measuring device. So this is a 3-inch section there, and then you measure the specific carapace, and it has to be at least 3 inches or longer. Again, I use this one, and then in the bottom of the bucket, I'm sure is the other one. I carry a spare. Again, you lose this because it falls overboard. You have nothing to measure. Then you're really risking it. Basic pair of diving snorkel and mask. Nothing special. These are just some US divers I got for like 15-20 bucks. Doesn't need to be anything fancy. Realistically, you're diving in areas between 5 and 15 foot is the majority of it. You can go deeper if you want, but it's not necessarily any better. Sometimes they're deeper, most of the time they're not. The deeper you can go means the areas you can get that are less picked through, that is a big help. Then I use a different style of anchor than my usual anchor that I use for my kayak. I use this 10-pound mushroom, and the way I use it is I just tie it to some regular rope that I've got here, and I use it just as a temporary hold for my kayak while I dive. So I'll hold this up, I'll be in the water along the side of the kayak looking down. When I see a nice crevice or something that I want to take a look at, I'll lift this out of the kayak and then ease it down and then drop it on the ground. Don't have really any slack. This 10-pound will hold that kayak when I'm not in it fairly easily, and then it's good, okay? I go down, check out that hole. When I come back up, no lobsters. I just lift this back up, put it in the kayak, and go push the kayak to another spot, find another spot, drop it down. So it's just a quick and easy way of to stop the kayak while I'm diving. This is the extra part of the diving stuff. These are just some mirrors, manta fins. I mean, it definitely helps, not necessary, but it helps to keep you down, which is the buoyancy issue. I don't wear a weight belt because most of the time I'm going out by myself and I don't want to be pinned underwater with a dive belt. So just to be safe, your body will tend to rise to the surface, so I'd prefer that than sinking. But doesn't need to be anything fancy. Like I said, 5 to 15 foot. Don't even necessarily have to have them, but they do make things a little bit more efficient. And what else we got? Okay, a pair of gloves. You got to have the gloves because the lobsters are named Spiny Lobsters, just like pinfish, okay? The name kind of gives a good hint for you to kind of understand what you're dealing with. So they have spines all up and down and they kick really hard. They're one big muscle. So you got to have some gloves to protect yourself. They'll even punch through these. My hands will be all shredded even with these, but at least it's something. As well as reaching underneath the corals and so forth, the rocks. You definitely have to have gloves. Let's see, we're getting to the bottom. I keep a bit of toothpaste to keep the mask from fogging up. Here's my other gauge. Just a little cheap plastic, but I measured them so I know that they're both right. If I lose one, I have a spare on the kayak. Very important. All right, then I've got this. This is the little different that I utilize. It's just basically a weight tied to some kite string to a bobber. And the way it works is I keep this in my pocket when I'm diving, and I find a spot that has some lobsters in it. Then what I'll do is I'll drop this weight, and then this bobber basically floats the string up, and this is whatever 4 or 5 feet up, okay? And it just marks that spot for me. So usually the way I work is I'll anchor the kayak, I'll swim around, hit a bunch of different spots. If I find a lobster, I don't aggressively go after it right then because you're out of breath, whatnot. Plus, I like to have the kayak right above where I'm diving, so when I get the lobster, I can go up, hold on to the kayak, do my measuring and so forth, and not be so out of breath. So what I'll do is I'll go down, I'll find a lobster, I'll disengage this, drop this down, this will be floating. That allows me to go back to my kayak, pull the anchor, drift back, drop the anchor, so I'm basically, my kayak is right over the spot, and then I could take my time and get that lobster. The biggest thing that you don't want to do is rush. When you start rushing, you make mistakes, the lobsters get away, and then you just wasted your whole time. If you take your time, you'll find 6 lobsters, you'll catch 6 lobsters, and you're done. Otherwise, you're just all over the place and you're not catching anything. You're getting more tired and more exhausted, making more mistakes, and then it just multiplies like that, and it takes longer. So this just helps out with that efficiency. A couple other bobbers, and that's it. That's all my stuff. Oh yeah, and something to carry them in. I just take this 5-gallon bucket because I just leave all my stuff in it, throw in the back of the kayak. I get a lobster, I can just throw it inside there. I'll take a cooler with some ice in it, my drinks and some food or something like that, because if it depends on how long I'm going to be out there, and I could throw them in there as well, but just some place to secure them. Some helpful tips before you come down for your mini season. One is take it easy the night before. We lose people every single mini season. People die. Just overexert themselves. It tends to be the older folk, the heart goes out, breathing problems, dead. Okay. I'm thinking from the Keys up through South Florida that we'll have 4 people die this year. That's just my guess. It'll happen, but just don't be one of them. Second part to think about is if you're coming down for the mini season, understand that the public boat launches will be a nightmare, freaking nightmare. There'll be a nightmare before the sun gets up. There'll be a nightmare especially when the sun just comes up in that early morning. And then they're going to be a nightmare throughout the rest of the day and the evening, all the way until Thursday dark time when the season closes. All right. It's just, there's not that many boat launches, and there's just crap loads of people coming down to do the mini lobster season. So try to plan ahead as best you can. Even if you're in a kayak, don't use the public launches. Find some out of the way places to launch from. I've got a video about launches in Key West as well as launches in Lower Keys. A lot of them are not boat launches. I personally will be using my general launch that I use on Key Haven, and I've yet to find one other person in the last 4 years to use that same launch during mini season, so I'm not worried at all, and that's exactly why I'm going to that spot. And then I'm going to be heading out to the Gulf with the other 500 boats that are going to be lined out there. So anyways, that is it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next video, which will probably be me jumping in the water. Bye. So my plan of attack for tomorrow is to come over here to Key Haven. It's called Floral Road. It's just this last road. There's some openings in the mangroves, and I'm launch my kayak there, head straight out, and basically just find a spot anywhere along here with the other hundreds and hundreds of other boats just outside the edge here. Like I said, 5 to 15 feet, just looking for any undercuts to find where the lobsters are hiding. If you want to know other spots around the Keys, Lower Keys at least, check out my lobster playlist. In one of those videos I go over some other good spots that you can try.